Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everybody alright, yeah? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. All praise is due to Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, for giving me an opportunity to come here at the ISOC and talk with you guys about how I came to Islam. And I'd like to thank the organisers, the people who put together this for Islamic awareness. I hope that if there is any non-Muslims here, that they can all benefit. And yeah, so basically I go by the name of Abdul Rahim. I grew up in a northwest estate called Chalkhill Estate. That's 32 blocks, 32 interconnecting blocks, and in the centre is a basketball court. This is where I grew up. This is where my childhood memories all stem from, and this is what was probably my first steps to Islam. I'm from a Caribbean background. My parents are St. Lucian descent and Jamaican descent, and we was brought up on certain ways of doing things, certain ways of cooking food, partying. We grew up I grew up in an environment that most of the attention was placed on what you have, what you have and what you don't have, what you ain't got and you need to get. And this was something that, in the estate, living up in an estate, it was, something that everybody, that's the way we was raised, that's the way we was brought up, The way that we would have family gatherings might be different to the way others have family gatherings, Some Caribbean background, mine, we would have like uncles and cousins, everybody there. You got the uncle in the back pouring alcohol on the food, and you got people smoking, and girls coming in, girls leaving, big cars pulling up, big chains hanging out, phones ringing. It was like a movie. It's like a gangster movie, But this, as a young child, this is all I knew. This is, you go to school, you come home, someone just got beat up on the block, someone ran out of food, or it's like a movie. The whole thing. If I was to sit down and write a book, I can probably write a good book out of it. But yeah, this is where I grew up from. I was studying. I used to go to Wembley High School. I was doing a few GCSEs and whatnot, but my attention was on music. I used to write a lot of rap music, and late at night I got this stereo that's made out of different parts of metal with a hanger coming out of it, trying to listen to all the latest rap tunes on Tim Westwood or something like that. Writing lyrics and then coming out on the block and then say, yo, hear this new. I got all the drug dealers standing up there in the line and hearing me rapping and whatnot. I used to rap my lyrics in the basketball court. Everybody would just start tapping the tables and making a beat. Then I start rapping, and this is how we grew up. We used to play a lot of basketball. I had an opportunity to go to play for London Towers, but I didn't take it serious. So you guys are here in university. You lot should appreciate what you have and what you're doing. But me, I had other things on my mind. And I wanted to live a life that was a bit more quicker than what I was doing. I flushed a lot of my education down. I stayed behind in school for a lot of the people that I was with fell off on the way, but I stayed behind. Even though I grew up in an estate and whatnot, I still had my wits about myself. I still picked up a book every now and again. I still read a few things. I still wrote a few things. So it wasn't just all a hectic lifestyle, Then a few things happened in my life that kind of turned me to the worst. I had a younger brother who was murdered on the street after school. Came out and he had a little argument with somebody. One thing led to another, and the guy took his life. So I lost a young brother, and living in an estate, sometimes the opportunities and the options seem a bit slimmer. The exits out seem slimmer. To be quite honest, Chalkhill Estate was my world. I lived there, I sleep there, I hustle there, and that's my world. So when this happened, I started smoking weed. I was coming into 16, 17. I started playing about with drugs, trying to sell drugs. education wasn't really important to me because of the lifestyle that I wanted to lead and the lifestyle that I was enter into. And around that point in time, I had my own place at an early age. So when I was going to high school, doing my GCSEs, or no, what was it? Doing my I was doing some NVQs or something like that, I think, in high school. Just on my way out, like sixth form. All the kids that were there, they were going home to their mum's house, or they were being raised by their mums and whatnot. But me, after school, I got to go to my flat. I had to go to my apartment. I'm responsible for myself. I'm responsible for bills, electric, all of these kind of things. I'm responsible for what I wear, the clothes I have. So I tried a few jobs. I tried McDonald's and all of those kind of jobs. But obviously, seeing the lifestyle that people were living in my neighborhood, McDonald's ain't the place to be at, So I started selling drugs, I started getting into, hard drugs and mingling with people that did the same thing, that, had the same like-minded, get paid, get money anyway, nothing long, eat or be eaten. That's the way that the lifestyle, that I was adapting into. Guns, obviously if you're on the street and this is the things that you're getting into, you have to have a gun. If you don't have a gun, blaze will be blazed. That's the mentality. I was basically, I don't want to kind of say that these people today are, but it was like you had to be a monster. You know what I'm saying? You had to turn yourself into a monster. Your heart had to be cold. You could be dealing with somebody who's on their last string of life. They're on benefit, and that's their last money. But if they're a fiend and they smoke drugs, then that money's your money. You have to survive. You don't smoke drugs. You have to survive. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter who or where or when. You got to survive, and you have to eat. And then obviously, like I had opportunities to play ball for London Towers. Then I had opportunities to play football for Luton. So I was athletic. I still am athletic. I still go to the gym. I still put 3 plates on each side and bang the weights and whatnot. But yeah, so I had these opportunities, but I turned my back on them because, money was the issue. Maybe if I was living with my parents and those things were taken care of, then I could focus on these kind of things. But it didn't turn out that way. So so then obviously living this lifestyle comes with, prison sentences, and I spent a lot of time in prison. I did a few sentences, and it gave me a lot of time. I thank Allah for the jail sentences that I did. I'm not really too sour by it. I ain't mentally scarred or anything. It just gave me an opportunity to slow down, because the lifestyle is so fast. It just gave me an opportunity to slow down, and then just focus on myself, focus on my purpose in life. Why am I here? Why do I keep coming to prison? Why is it that I'm in this cycle of selling drugs and robbing and just being a criminal? Why am I in this circle? It gave me a chance to reflect on a lot of things, and I didn't really have that much support, because all my companions were on the same thing that I was on. There was no one that was there to say to me, yo, you need to slow down. Like, this path that you're heading down, it's only going to take you one way. You need to make changes. There wasn't really nobody there to do that, and I was taken care of by my aunt, my father's sister, and her 2 sons. Her 2 sons, one of them was on the road, one of them was a drug dealer, and the other one was a university student. So because I was raised amongst them, I always had 2 sides about myself. So you can give me a book, on philosophy, or a book on certain topics that nobody on the street would read, but I can get into it, and then you can give me a box load of drugs and I can get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? So I was playing both sides of the fence, and it was a good thing for me, because when it came to that time where I had to phase that lifestyle out, I can go back into the books and have a more of an intellectual approach on the lifestyle that I was living, the lifestyle that I was leading. So, I had a young lady out there when I was in prison. She embraced Islam on a I think there was a march in 2004, 2003 for Iraq, in central London somewhere. She embraced Islam, and then she came to the prison and she said to me, "Listen, I'm a Muslim now, and we can't be together. If we're going to be together, we have to be married, And I said to her, "You can't come to jail and tell me that, Trust me, it played with my mind, and it played with my mind. So, there was a point where I picked up the Quran, I flicked through a few pages, and I saw things like, you're gonna get thrown into the fire and damnation, and these kind of things, you get me? So I was thinking, this is a bit too much for me. I'll put that aside and I'll get to it. Years start passing by, and it still kept popping up, and then I started taking a more of a objective approach to it, and then there were some people in the prison who they were Muslim. They would give me some material and whatnot to read and whatnot. And lo and behold, I just said, I didn't get all my answers out of the Quran. I think the Quran was a bit above my head for me to take in, like at that point in time. Like when you're giving dawah to somebody, you give them the Quran, but you give them some supplementary books, to just ease them in. I didn't really have those supplementary books as such, So I took my shahada anyway, because I felt that this was, something inside me. I don't know if it's fitra, call it what you want to call it. Something inside me that said, this is the truth, yeah. And I'm going to embrace it. And then when I came out, that's when I started hitting the books. That's when I started changing the companions that I roll with. That's when I started, getting rid of all the drugs that I had waiting for me when I came outside. I started getting rid of everything. Anybody who was upon that road life, or making their money in that way, or still robbing people and that, I didn't want nothing to do with it. I wanted to change my life. I said to myself, you know what? I've tried this road so many times. Yeah, I've tried this road so many times. It don't matter if I go this way, that way, or this way. It's still the same road, and it always lands me in the same place where I don't want to be. Like, I don't know if any of you lot have been in jail, but it's a box. Summertime. When it's hot outside, and your cold water's hot. You don't have. You've been told where to eat, where to go toilet, when to sleep. You only get. I tell you, I only see the sky once for 1 hour in the day. That's the only. Can you imagine not seeing the sky, fam? The sky it's like the most beautifulest thing when it's sunset, and you can just about see 1 hour, spending, it. So I just said, I need to change something. Something's got to change, So I remember when I was released, I didn't tell no one was coming out, and then I went straight to the sauna, from the prison to the sauna, and I just sat in the sauna and just steamed out that prison out of me. Saying, I stopped smoking them and smoking weed and that. I swolled up. I was big, big. When I came back, people didn't even know who I was when I came back to the hood. So then I flipped the script. Obviously, my girlfriend at the time, she was very happy. She waited throughout all my sentences. She waited. And then obviously I've been in jail, so I need to be married, Yeah. So as soon as I came out, I just said, let's do this thing. I got married and then started taking a few responsibilities. So yeah, a lot of people, my parents, they couldn't really say anything about me becoming a Muslim, because I was already my own man from a young age. So they couldn't say, you're a Muslim, you terrorist, what are you doing there? What's that you're wearing? Why is your trousers in your socks? you know, all these kind of things. You know, they couldn't say nothing to me. And to be quite honest, a lot of Caribbean background, if you know, parents from Caribbean background, they usually, well, so they think anyway, that they deal with righteousness, so they're a bit laid back and whatnot. And you know, so I just give them dawah from my actions, you know, so they know that their son ain't on the madness. You know, I ain't running around clapping people with the gun and that, and I ain't doing nothing stupid no more. And now I'm married and I'm trying to do this thing properly. So alhamdulillah, I took my shahada in prison. You know, I reverted back to Islam, back to the fitrah of this deen. And you know, like other men started hugging me. Other Muslim men started hugging me. I was like, what's this? Yo, I you know, it's a new thing to me. Like, you don't hug a man on the road, so what's this all about in prison? You know what I'm saying? You know, obviously later on in life, you know, you start realizing why and whatnot. Because when I took my shahada, a lot of brothers came and started hugging me. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, this is the best decision you've made, such and so forth, you know. The thing is that the lifestyle that I was living before Islam, I didn't realize that this lifestyle was a way that would lead me to destruction. I didn't know that, you know. I wasn't aware of that. And when I started reading the Quran, and when I started reading about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how he led his life, the companions, the tabi'een and the tabi'een, I started realizing, may Allah be pleased with them, I started realizing that the lifestyle I was living was a lifestyle that would lead me to the hellfire. It's a lifestyle that would lead me into destruction in this life and the afterlife. Because that lifestyle was so rugged, there was never no barakah in my life. There was never no barakah in my time. There was never no barakah in anything that I did. If I bought some new clothes and I bought a new car, people envied me for it. I crashed the car, I ripped my clothes. I remember my first Averets. I don't know if you lot remember Averet's. Brand new black shiny leather Averets, crisp Nikes, designer jeans and whatnot. And then I'll probably walk past the door and then rip my Averets, you know, or let my friend drive the car, which I did let him do. He drove it into somebody's house, you know what I'm saying? You know, so there was just no barakah in nothing that I was doing, you know. So I just decided, you know, that, you know, it's time to make a change, and it's time to, you know, take a different route. So alhamdulillah, then I started looking into Islam. I started trying to figure out my purpose of why I'm here, you know, because I can't be here just to be a menace to society. I must have some kind of use or some kind of purpose and whatnot. You know, I come across an ayah in the Quran and Surah, I think it's Dhuriyat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I didn't create jinn and men, I only created jinn and men to worship me alone. You know, I started learning about singling Allah out in worship, singling Allah out in lordship, and singling Allah out in His names and His attributes, which is, you know, Tawheed. You know, I started learning about these things and the conditions of why I'm of the Shahada, why, like, I'm saying La ilaha illallah. You know, people say, oh, there's no God but God, but it's a deeper term than that, you know. And it's only, I'll be real with you, it's only today that I've left off of other topics and other subjects to go back to La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, the Shahada. What is its conditions? The Shahada has like 7 or 8 conditions. What are their conditions with proofs? This is when you're giving dawah, you have to give them their Shahada. You can't just give someone their Shahada, say La ilaha illallah, and then yes, ma salama, pray 5 times a day, and then call it, it's a wrap. No. This is why today I'm seeing now, as I'm a Muslim and I'm progressing, you know, I'm maturing in the deen, reading more books, you know, trying to memorize Quran. I'm seeing that, you know, people are falling off because they don't know the condition of their Shahada. They don't know what it is, you know. So a nasiyah for everyone plus myself. I'm doing it myself today. I've been Muslim for 5-6 years. I'm doing it myself today, returning back to the conditions of my Shahada, the categories of Tawheed, you know, and then, you know, the things that nullify your Shahada. You need to know these things, you know. Without your Shahada, you can't be a Muslim, you know. You can't be a Muslim without your Shahada. Your Salah isn't accepted if your wudu isn't done correct, you know. So these are things you have to know, like the fiqh on your wudu, how to pray properly, you know. I sat down in a wudu class, yeah. I used to say, man, these Salafi dons, they always Tawheed, wudu, the etiquettes of using the miswak, you know what I'm saying? But when I sat down in a class about wudu, I found out that there was at least maybe well, I rechecked that my wudu, and I was doing it right, but there was one thing that I was doing wrong. You know, there's one thing in my wudu that I was doing wrong. Yeah, and that's just me. Now, who knows what we're doing wrong in our wudu amongst us? You know, simple things. If your wudu isn't correct, then your salah isn't accepted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at your other deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at your other deeds before He looks at your salah. You know, so these are the things that I'm indulging in now, and I'm engaging in now. Alhamdulillah, I'm married, and alhamdulillah, I'm taking responsibility. You know, I went Umrah. I did an Umrah trip. You know, went to see the Kaaba. Hey, listen, everyone needs to go there. Everyone needs to go there. Oh my gosh! If you ever see like top balcony, and you just see 1 billion Muslims and the Kaaba, and then you just, I'm being real. I'm being real, and then you just hear stone. And then you see like, because it's all messy down there. It's all messy. Then you start seeing this beautiful pattern. Just, you know, like when you get a magnet and you got like what you call it, lead shreddings and whatnot, and you see the magnetic field and whatnot, and slowly it just starts to. It's like that. That's how the people are. And then just from one word, 1 billion people just get organized, you know. And I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, one time we was in Ruku, yeah, and then I took a peek just to have a look, and it just looks so uniform and so beautiful, you know. And then you can hear, it's like there's a breeze, like a nice breeze like Fajr. There's just a nice breeze, top floor balcony, back in some Zamzam, and you're just like this. And then my Aikani's reciting. And it's just like the breeze is blowing, and it's just like, yo, this is it, you know. This is it. Like every step that you take around the Kaaba, you're just shedding sins, like subhanallah. And I managed to get to touch the black stone as well, you know. That's what I'm saying. It's all, you know. I encourage everybody to go there, make your umrah, make your hajj, and go there. So that's that plus my studies has built a yaqeen, a certainty in my heart that, you know what, this is the truth. You know, I'm leading my life according to the way the best of people on this earth led their life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected these people. These are our role models, you know. So that's where I'm at today. Alhamdulillah, I'm involved in 2 projects. One's called Roadside to Islam, you know. I don't know if you lot have seen it, but that's one of the, if you can check it, roadsidetoislam.com. And then I'm involved in another one that's more like community based, called North Wheezy Dawah. You got to put a little swing on it. You can't just you got to put a little swing on it. And this one, mostly I'm focusing on the sisters who, you know, they don't get to go to the Jummah, they're not getting a khutbah, they're not getting that foundation, and they're the ones that are going to raise our children. So my thing is foundations first. Know the conditions of your shahada and the conditions, and know the proofs. Know your tawheed and know the proofs, and then you take it from there. That's when you're playing with, you know, your shit will set sail. So the sisters are, alhamdulillah, they're enjoying it, and this is what I keep to busy myself, you know. The poetry and whatnot. The brother said I'm a nasheed artist. Yeah, I'm not a nasheed artist. I do a bit of spoken word from the material that I read, so that I can deliver it to the people, so that they can benefit as well. I like to just call myself someone that likes to remind people, you know, just to remind people of the foundation. And obviously I'm reminding myself, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept what's sincere from the reminders that I give. And khalas, alhamdulillah. Any mistake that I made is from myself, and anything beneficial